Okay, and we are back. This is Late Night Parents, Ted Hicks. Richie C., better yet, Rich Valdez is in the studio.
What's going on, Ted? Teddy Ted.
What's going on? Super engineer.
I hear hum.
I hear a hum. Brian Graves is also in the building.
Super producer Brian.
As always. So we're back. Another week.
Another week down. How was your week, Ted?
The week is always good. Week is always good. Feel a week stronger.
Good. Are you feeling better?
I feel 85% better.
Okay, which means you're running at about 90% now.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Okay.
Totally. You know, just getting all that bad stuff out of your system.
Get it out.
I'm telling you.
We got to get that. I got to pick up that Maker's Mark for you.
I'm telling you, that would do it.
That's what I got to do for you.
Oh, my goodness. So, yeah, each night the window is open.
Yep.
The breeze is coming through.
Get some fresh air.
The sheets are coming off. The linens are coming off every other night. And I feel good.
All right. Good.
I feel good.
Good. I had a good week.
You did?
Yeah.
What'd you do?
I finally, at the beginning of the week, it was Tuesday night, I think it was.
Okay.
I got out and I saw Infinity War.
Oh, if you didn't see Infinity War this past week, we couldn't do a show this week.
I know. I realized this.
Might as well. Brian would put on the mute music. We would pack our stuff up.
And walk out.
And I would make it home in time for Backlash.
Yes. Oh, Backlash. That's okay.
Okay. A lot to cover here. Feature guest is Mr. Todd G. Vandenberg. The G stands for our comic book lovers, Galactus.
Todd Galactus. His parents would dare not do that to him. But you know that somewhere in the world, someone's parents did.
They named their son Galactus. Probably not Todd.
Not Todd.
Maybe no. Todd did it to his kids.
Just to carry along the middle initial.
Yes.
Start making up good ones.
Oh, my goodness. Todd, you in the building?
I would totally do that, except the G would stand for gravy.
Gravy.
I am thrilled to be on WGBB. Was that suitably radio voiced? Hopefully that was good enough.
That was great.
Enough. That worked.
And Maker's Mark is from the devil, so that's, no, thank you. But it's,
what would you prefer?
It's great. Anything, gutter water. I don't know anything.
Oh.
Maker's Mark has a particular fond spot in my heart because it was like the 17th drink I had on one particularly bad night of mixing like virtually everything.
Okay.
So it kind of capped it off.
I understand. We all have those stories.
Yes, and Maker's Mark is mine. So there you go. Anyway, seriously, I am very happy to be on with you guys again. It's always super fun. So
yeah, it's great to have you back. We have something really good to talk about this week.
Definitely. But
yeah, for once we're not talking about. Well, we are talking about a predator, but it's a fictional predator.
Yes.
So
right.
Much better than the usual.
The orange one.
We go from an orange villain to a purple villain. How fun!
Oh my goodness! Hey, before we get started,
kind of blue.
Want to give a big shout out to our home team, 1240 AM WGBB, Long Island's oldest radio station, the station that serves your community. Also, big shout out to WRAQ 92.7 FM, upstate New York, Angelica, New York. And also to, and this is where I can say, drum roll, please.
Drum roll. Here's the drum roll.
To our 20 other affiliates. Yay!
Hello, affiliates. Across the pond. In the States.
Mostly internet radio, but we love internet radio.
And the crowd roared.
Yes, they do. So now that we got all that out of the way, do we talk about Kanye West before we go into Infinity War, or do we just not talk about Kanye West?
No, we have to talk about Kanye West.
Yeah, let's get the bad stuff out of the way first.
Let's get the intended entertainment out of the way first. Is that what you're saying?
Wow.
You know, I'm going to sum it up to this.
Go ahead.
Kanye West has 2 albums coming out.
Yes.
Okay? One album that's 7 songs and a second one that might be 8 or 9 songs within the next 45 to 60 days.
I really do hope that this is all the mind of Kanye and the publicity team of Kanye getting out and just drumming up some play for him to get people out there caring about him. But the idiocy that he's speaking and saying, unless this album or this combined album is going to be some political statement, and that's his whole intent, I can't. I don't get it. I just don't understand it.
I really hope so, but I don't think so. My first thought when I read this is slavery was not a choice, but stupidity really is.
Yes.
Dude, what the hell is wrong with you? And I mean, that's, oh my God.
I don't know. It's painful.
If that was intentional, that was not the smartest or smoothest move. I mean, oh Lord.
Well, what is the saying? No publicity is bad publicity?
Well, in certain cases.
Yeah.
When you go this far.
I don't. I guess time will tell. I mean, I agree with the way it seems like you feel that you really don't want to believe that the craziness that he said are indicative of his genuine thought process and what he truly believes. Especially not that it would ever be valid anyway, but especially considering the climate that we're going through these days.
And he does support the orange one.
Yes,
Yeah,
he does.
That's true.
So it dovetails with that, sadly. So, oh man,
Maybe
it's not a bad look. It's just a bad existence.
maybe he's looking for a different audience to sell his, and he doesn't even make good music anymore.
No, and that's the other thing. He doesn't. This isn't. Give me back Kanye, Graduate Kanye, and the whole school series Kanye.
College dropout or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
So this is dedicated to the NRA. I get it.
I guess
That's the next album.
Oh my goodness! All right,
Man.
we've given him enough airtime. If you want to hear more commentary on Kanye, go to Beats One, iHeart, and everywhere else that's talking about Kanye.
Yeah.
I don't know about you two gentlemen.
Yes.
Saw a movie about a week. Yeah, roughly about a week ago.
Yep.
Changed my life. How I view superhero movies. The build-up. 10 years.
10 years.
18, 19 movies. Drip, 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 drip. And it finally led to Infinity Wars.
I won't even call it drip, drip, drip because this was a regularly paced event. This was, all right, we're feeding it to you. We're not dripping it to you. We're feeding it to you spoonful by spoonful. Here you go. You start off with just one, then we'll build a couple more, and then you got a team, and then we can introduce some real bad guys. Now we can give you a whole nother side of the universe, and then you end up with what we have.
It's like rivers. It's like tributaries all flowing, and they all go into the Amazon at the end. And the Amazon, and we're only halfway down the Amazon.
Exactly. I mean, that'll be a question for the end of the conversation. What we after. Well, we'll bring it to the conversation now. Right now, we're kind of going backwards in circles here. So my question, and let's see, Todd, if you're familiar, if you know the answer, you know the story, and for any listeners out there, if you haven't seen the film yet, there will be spoilers. We cannot hold the conversation without spoilers.
It's 2 weeks later.
It's 2 weeks. I think it's
$1 billion
fair.
later.
I think it's fair, but give the people a warning
Chinese
anyway.
listeners, your listeners in the country of China, though, have not had the opportunity yet. So
Okay.
Okay.
You guys need to shut it off.
I wish I knew how to speak Chinese to tell them to turn it off now because here come the spoilers. So, question 1, which will give a spoiler. So we know who is on the other end of that pager message, Captain Marvel.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
My question is, for the next movie or 2 movies, is the Captain Marvel movie, which I believe is scheduled to be the next one out, not counting the Black Panther movie as well, but in this exact time frame, is the Captain Marvel movie going to be the equivalent of the Infinity War 2, or is Captain Marvel going to be its own complete movie, and then we have to get Infinity War 2?
Captain Marvel is its own complete. It's actually set in the 90s, so it's a prequel to everything.
Okay.
So
Good answer.
that's why a pager and not something more.
which is how we have a younger Agent Fury, and Phil Coulson will be in the Captain Marvel movie, which makes me kind of go squeak.
I did hear that.
That makes me very happy.
Okay.
But that's how, because it's in the 90s.
Nick Fury with 2 working eyes.
With 2 eyes.
Tricky.
Okay, so then, time frame wise, again, I know I'm going this to the back of the story, but so the next Black Panther movie takes place when? Because again,
Now that I have no idea. I'm assuming after the follow-up to Infinity War, which we don't know what the title is, because they've made a very big deal about a lot of the smart money, as they say, is on Avengers Resurrection or something along those lines.
Right.
I'm hoping it's Avengers Shawarma, because that would go all the way back to the beginning.
Avengers: The Search for the Gauntlets.
Yes.
Kind of like, the search for Spock.
Search for Spock.
So it'll be. There's still, even though we know that some deaths aren't going to stick because they can't, because, for instance, a certain character that Marvel has used in their last 2 Avengers movies, they ain't got the rights to that character. So they can't really kill that character off.
Right.
Just saying.
Dan, I didn't think he would be dead anyway.
Yeah, that character
way.
is coming back because that character is... Oh, here's the thing. It's maybe not that character, because there is a movie coming out with that character's name, but it could possibly be a different incarnation of that character. It's not going to be, but, that's okay.
Last name Morales?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
And I really hope that character is in it. That would be very cool. There is a certain gentleman who starred in his own standalone movie, which up until Infinity War was just and still realistically, because it's a standalone movie, absolutely blew the doors off every expectation. You ain't gonna kill off that dude either.
We're giving spoilers. You're talking Spider-Man.
T'Challa.
Oh, T'Challa. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about him being. Yeah, no, that's not going anywhere.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Spider-Man. They can't kill him off.
Nope.
Don't have the rights to do that.
Right.
T'Challa. They ain't going to, because
He's
they're
not
not going to throw away $1 billion.
Right. Per movie.
Loki. I think
like
Loki's dead.
I think Loki's dead.
And that's the thing. My thought, and this was my first thought when this happened, but I've seen it a lot too, so I ain't feeling it. It's a pretty easy conjecture, I guess. Is the deaths, pre-snap deaths?
Right.
Those are sticking.
Yes. Okay. I agree.
The finger snap deaths, those will be the ones that will end up being rebooted. But here's the thing, because there are alternate realities in the Marvel universe, we don't know that the characters that come back will actually come back in our universe. And this is part of this thing that still gives you suspense for the follow-up to Infinity War, because we don't know. I mean, they'll be back, but will they be back here in this reality?
That would disappoint me. That I am never a fan of the multiple time frames, time warps, time zones. I think that's a cop-out.
I agree. But, it's a possibility. Yeah. So it's something, a little bit of suspense that can kind of keep you guessing as to what's going on. And again, the real world intrudes, and we know that certain actors, their contract is up after this next movie.
Right.
Those characters will almost certainly be gone, which is a nice ending to those character arcs.
Yeah, but
you can't play those characters forever. It makes me sad, but you can't play those characters forever.
But they're the franchise. They're the home team. You always have to have them around.
They are. They are. And a couple of those guys, that's two. I'm thinking of 2 in particular.
Who? Which ones?
Basically, the lead guys in Civil War. Going to be hard.
Oh, to replace
those actors, because man, they embody those characters.
Yeah, I thought we might. I was thinking that Iron Man might be the one to truly bite it in Infinity War, because I was thinking.
Oh, I did too. I think most people did.
Yeah, I was thinking then they would go down the storyline that was back in the early '80s when Rhodey really did become Iron Man for a while, but they're letting him be
War Machine.
War Machine, right? So
War
they brought that one back out actively. So unless they can go play a whole nother role and give someone else Iron Man, female,
and
Iron
he still might, because it's not like the Marvel movies are ending after March or April of 2019,
right?
When the follow up to this comes out. So yeah, I mean, looking forward to it. It's a lot of people are seem to be kind of upset, not really angry, but it's like because there's a lot of death in this movie, and if you're at all familiar with the story, you knew it was coming, and if you weren't, it kind of adds to the whole thing, doesn't it? I mean, it's a comic book movie with consequences,
right?
At which usually they don't, and how much consequences there are, we'll see when we see how many people come back. But the second one, that's going to be the real payoff, because that's when the big deaths are going to happen, I think, and those are the ones that are going to really oh, damn, I am not feeling good about this.
Right.
That's when it's going to really pay off.
Two things. One, the next version of, the sequel to Infinity War, I'm hearing it takes place 5 years later.
5 years. Okay.
There was a photo shot of Tony Stark. His hair was white.
Okay.
Number two.
Interesting.
Question to Mr. Vandenberg. Mr. Vandenberg, are you ready?
Why I got to be on the spot? What's up with this?
Where
You answer it, smart
did
guy.
Valkyrie go? Tessa Thompson, what happened to her?
They referred in the middle of people screaming and laughing and everything else that half of the Asgardians did manage to escape. So Tessa Thompson was half of the Asgardians who got out of there. Now, will she still be around? Because this was before he got the gauntlet full of little stones and snapped his fingers. I would say odds are, yes, she will still be there, because it would be pretty lame to eliminate her off screen.
Right.
So I imagine Tessa Thompson will be there, and hopefully she will have a nice role in the follow up. So we'll see. And it's one thing I want to say more than one thing, but one thing I want to say right now is, considering how many storylines and how many characters, I mean, this is 10 years worth of stories that they have to wrap up, and the Russo brothers did a freaking fantastic job of it. It is amazing how this movie flows. I mean, it's, 2 hours and 40-some minutes, and it feels like an hour.
Exactly.
It just flies. I mean, and the amount of humor that's still in the film, the relationships of the characters who haven't met before.
Right.
Doctor Strange calls Iron Man something that I don't believe I can say on AM radio, but it's in the movie, which is hilarious. I love that, because everyone knows, of course, that's what Tony Stark is.
Yeah.
And, and you knew that because basically they're the same guys.
They are.
One was an engineer and the other one's a surgeon and magician. So of course they're going to clash. And I mean, that was just a brilliant moment. And the whole one-up alpha male thing between Peter Quill and Thor, and Thor, of course, is oblivious to the whole thing because he tends to be oblivious.
Right.
But there's just so much humor in this thing, and this is the end of half of the universe.
Right.
And it's still, in a large part, this is one of the funniest movies that's come out in the past several years, because there's just so many great lines.
I almost feel that Ragnarok was almost an experiment to see how much humor they could interject into the films and get away with it. Because I kind of thought it was a little over the top.
I really liked it, but I know where you're coming from, and it's a comic road movie.
Right. That's exactly what it was.
Superheroes.
Right. And this one, I think they got it just at the right amount. It wasn't over the top, wasn't slapstick. If you knew anything about the storylines out of the comic books, you got a lot of it, and plus just the interactions as they played off of each other were great. So I agree. I don't think they could have made. It would have been hard to make a better movie.
I agree, and I'm sure we were talking on another show earlier today, and I can't really put my finger on it, but I know they could have done certain things better, but I really can't say what.
Yes.
Because it's not my favorite Marvel movie. So I know, for me, things could have been done differently somewhere. But for the life of me, I can't say what they should have changed. So it's kind of stupid to say, oh, this is wrong with it. It's like, well, since you don't have a solution,
right?
You just need to shut up. Considering what it could have been, hello DC, hello Warners.
Please don't do that.
Astounding! It's an astoundingly good movie considering the storylines they had to juggle. Just did a fantastic job, absolutely fantastic job.
And when you say fantastic, kind of segues into the one thing I would change in the movie.
Have them in there.
And I think I said it to both of you separately. So I'll now announce it to you together.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, this is going to be the second time you're hearing this.
Okay.
But for our listeners, it's going to be the first time that they're hearing it.
If you ever say it.
If I ever say it. Okay. The only thing I would have done differently for the Soul Stone.
Yeah.
Yes.
If Marvel/Disney had the IP.
Yeah.
For Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
It would have jived right with the comic books. I'm not saying Red Skull. Been beautiful. I'm not saying Red Skull wasn't great.
It was a good substitute.
But our good friend Hugo, Todd, wasn't there with us.
Exactly. That is one of my. I'm glad you said that because that's one of the things that bothers me about the movie. And granted, I mean, you can't exactly force the guy to do it. But I wish they had gone with a different character, because he did a good job, and I can't recall the actor's name, but he's on The Walking Dead. He did a fairly good job, but I immediately knew it wasn't Hugo Weaving.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's like, dude, no, that's not the Red Skull. It's to me, it just, I mean, I liked it, and it was like, oh, that's cool, it's Red Skull, but it was just, if it had been Hugo Weaving, and man, that would have been awesome.
Would you?
Instead,
would you?
It was like, oh, that's cool.
Would you have preferred they just gone with a full CGI Red Skull instead?
I would have preferred they'd gone with a completely different character.
Okay.
I mean, it was set up. I get it that it was set up from Captain America: The First Avenger, because he didn't die. He went off. He went away. So I know it was there the whole time. But if he couldn't get Hugo Weaving, it's just, I don't pay him $50 million. I mean, dude, it's voiceover work. Come on.
Yeah.
So
and it's 18 movies later.
Yeah.
Obviously, he really did not enjoy the experience, which he made clear he didn't enjoy the experience. But yeah, that's just, I don't understand why they didn't just do that and said, okay, man, it's like you said, Richie, we'll go CGI, but just do the voice. And for whatever reason, obviously he wouldn't do it, which makes me kind of sad. But offering half of a 1%. Of the net, because you'll always be able to lie and say it didn't make money. Well, I'm hell. Right. Offer a 50% of the net. Doesn't make any difference. This thing will never make money on the books.
So $1 billion in 11 days.
Amazing.
$1 billion in 11 days.
Has not opened in China.
Right.
And in case you were wondering, Avengers made $86 million in China, and Avengers: Age of Ultron made $240 million in China, and that's the Avengers movie that isn't that good.
Agreed.
So, yeah, wait till this weekend. Man, yeah, this thing is just making crazy bank, which is good, because people who do great work should be rewarded, and they're being rewarded.
As the trailer was going up, or actually as the credits were going up at the end of the film, and you're looking at that cast, and you're looking at all those names, I wonder what the payroll budget was.
It said the budget was almost $400 million.
Just in payroll, just for the cast. Now I want to know how much they got paid, because the effects team, they're getting a huge chunk. I want to know what the payroll was just for cast, for the lead cast.
Had to be a bit over minimum wage, I'm guessing. I mean, I'm even New York minimum wage.
They got to keep tips.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah, it's they had to make some serious cash for that, and they deserve it, because those characters, you can't really see someone else playing Tony. Now, someone else may play Iron Man.
Right.
Someone else is going to play Captain America, but I can't see someone else playing Steve Rogers. I just can't see someone else playing Tony Stark.
Right.
And, eventually someone will, of course, because that's how movies work. But hopefully they wait quite a while, like a decade, before they reboot this thing and start telling the stories or new stories. Hopefully, they'll do that. They won't pull a Fox and let's do the Phoenix Force like 7 times.
Again.
Yeah. You got 40 years of comics, guys. There's more than one story.
Plenty
X-Men.
of stories, exactly. One thing that I didn't like, and I don't know, I had gotten out of comics.
Uh-oh.
Well, one thing I didn't like. I didn't like the sentient Hulk battling with Banner to come out, not come out. No, I don't want to come out. No, he didn't say no, I don't want to come out, but he did say no.
He did say no.
I
did say no.
I just wasn't feeling that because that's supposed to be the thing. He doesn't have real control of it. It comes out when he's in distress. Blah 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 blah.
But that's the thing. They never said Hulk didn't have control. They said Banner didn't have control.
Okay.
Hulk comes out
when Hulk wants,
right? when Hulk wants. To me, they're setting it up to do Gray Hulk. Hopefully, that would be awesome.
Okay.
Or they're just not going to do it at all, and something bad will happen to Bruce Banner, and that's a possibility too. I liked it. I would have rather had seen Hulk out one more time, but they set it up because he got it handed to him.
He did
in mano-a-mano combat, which is pretty unusual for Hulk. So I can kind of see her as like, nope.
No, I don't want to do this.
Introduces an interesting element because Hulk apparently is afraid,
right?
Which has never happened before.
Right, that's true.
So, not necessarily saying, not necessarily. I'm not at all saying, oh, you're wrong, because that's how you saw it, and your opinion is just as valid as mine. And actually, it's your show, so it's more valid than mine.
No. You bring up valid points. Scaredy Hulk. Okay.
Yeah, Scaredy Hulk, which is weird, which is really weird. And then we all wanted to see Hulk just Hulk out, obviously, because he did in the trailers, and then he wasn't, which is an interesting change. Makes you wonder if that was deliberate or if they changed their mind after they shot that.
Yeah, it sounds like where they changed their minds.
If we take a couple of steps back and we think about from Age of Ultron to Ragnarok, 2 year time period that he was totally the Hulk.
Yes.
No Banner for 2 years. So I'm wondering, is this the opposite?
Oh, so he just has to go through a Banner period.
I'm wondering.
Maybe.
Because that's the one thing I did notice in Ragnarok. They explained, he was like, wait a minute. Mark Ruffalo was like, I've been the Hulk for 2 years?
Yeah.
It's like, what in the world's going on?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because obviously that's a change, because before it was always rage, and the rage goes away, and Hulk goes away, and obviously that changed. So, and he didn't really get very enraged, obviously, when he fought Thanos. He didn't go through that whole...
He got it handed to him.
Yeah, he did. He didn't have time to get enraged. So, it could be a very interesting change in the Hulk character. Hopefully they'll do that, and they won't just throw it away. I personally, I can't see Marvel just throwing that away, because they don't seem to do that very often. But it'd be interesting to see. So that's the fun. Even though we know some things are going to happen, like, okay, a lot of characters are going to come back. We don't know how they're going to come back. We don't know how this is all going to play out. One particular character that I assumed, and I'm sure a lot of people assumed, would have a big role in the second movie, he's gone. Happens to be the character who said there is one outcome in which we win. So if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, it's not a spoiler.
And I agree, but
surprise.
I don't think that his being made to disappear in the twinkle of an eye and the snap of a finger, I don't think that still eliminates what he saw. He knows that this had to happen.
No, exactly. It doesn't eliminate what he saw. That's exactly why he took the actions he took, because the character that he saved obviously is part of the solution.
Right.
As is half the universe being eliminated.
Right.
Half the people in the universe, anyway. Half of the sentient species, put it that way.
Yeah. Interesting.
So the question I just want to throw out here, and before we do that, this is Late Night Parents with Todd, Rich, and Ted. Todd is our special guest tonight. That's Todd Vandenberg, the Unreal Todd. You can find him. It's a great follow on Twitter. Thanos. His thought process.
Obviously confused. To me, Thanos is the second best Marvel villain ever. Also, the second best purple Marvel villain ever, because the best, to me, by far, is David Tennant in the Jessica Jones series. I mean, that's just an awesome character. But much like they did in Black Panther, where the villain has motivations, not always the story is the villain is the hero of their own story. Those are the real villains. They're the best. Thanos absolutely is the hero of his story. He's saving the universe in his mind. His mind
he's doing the right thing
in his own twisted mind,
and he has proof of it because things were getting bad on Titan, on his planet. They didn't listen to him, thankfully, because they said, no, we're not going to kill half the people just because you think it's a smart idea. But then the planet, they did not figure things out where most people would be able to. Wow, I almost went into a Christopher Walken thing. That was weird. And so what happened? No. So they're gone. The planet is destroyed. So he has validation. His ideas are right. He has proof of it. It's a real limited application, but he's got proof of it. So of course he's the hero. Of course he's saving everybody. He saved Gamora, his lovely adopted daughter, who he kidnapped and destroyed her home planet. But, he was saving her. Guy's definitely a little warped. But he's the hero. And he is definitely the dominant figure in the movie. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's one problem Marvel movies have had in the past, is sometimes the villains aren't as great as they could be.
Sure.
And not in this case. An awesome villain. There's a lot going on in his head. They let you see what's going on. Josh Brolin does an awesome job. I mean, he's wearing a lot of latex, and in a lot of cases, or maybe all cases, he's wearing nothing or just little dots because it's all CGI. Awesome performance. I mean, Brolin's a great actor, but I mean, really, really inspired casting. Like you were saying before, Rich, I mean, it's nothing but inspired casting for Marvel. I mean, they just hit it every time.
Yeah, it's true. And what's funny? I did not know who was playing Thanos, and through half the movie, I'm sitting there saying, I know that face. I know the eyes. I know that facial structure to a degree. I can't figure out who the heck this is. And yeah, of course, at the end, I was like, "That's who that was." And yeah, like you said, all around, his acting was top shelf. Be it that he was surrounded by, in a mask full of dots or rubber or whatever it may have been. He just played the role. And this was one of those cases where, like you said, Marvel provided us a character, a villain with depth. That had some thought process besides just being a megalomaniac and wanting to take over the world or the universe or whatever the case may be. He was doing this for a quote unquote for a reason. Yeah. And in his mind, an altruistic reason, which is what makes the big difference.
One of the many things that makes Black Panther work so well.
Yes.
Same thing.
Yes.
The villain is the hero of his own story, and he's a lot closer to being right. And Thanos is just crazy.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason he is, but still. And you look at Killmonger, and it's like, okay, you can really see where he's coming from. Not so with Thanos. So, anyway, he's an awesome villain.
Question about Gamora.
She's cute. Yes.
Yes.
Next question about Gamora. No.
She's really cute. Yes.
She's really cute, even though she does have green skin.
Hey.
She died before 2 snaps and a finger.
She did.
So what does that mean?
Well, she didn't die. You have to think about where she died, though.
Okay.
He's getting the Soul Stone when she dies, and that's a particular realm. And they haven't really introduced it in the films, of course, because they just hit this thing. But it's possible that she's not dead. She's just trapped within the Soul Stone, within the Soul Realm, which is why she comes back again at some point in the film which would be later in the film, and as the child when he first adopted / kidnapped / destroyed her planet.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe she isn't dead after all. I kind of hope she is, though, because at some point some of these deaths have to pay off. To most people, Star Trek II by far the best Star Trek movie.
Absolutely.
Why? Because a major character that people loved for, at that point, decades, died. And then in the next movie, oh, it's okay, he's back. What? No. I mean, the way it was set up, everything works. It's not a plot hole. It makes perfect sense, except it robs you of the impact of that character's death.
Right.
And spoiler alert for a 40-year-old movie, Spock died at the end of Star Trek II. So these deaths won't have any weight if too many of these people come back. And it makes sense. They set it up so she can, but and she's obviously super popular. And by the way, a lot of her buddies are gone in this movie, but those were with the finger snap, so right. They can come back. Well, they could. They may not. There's no formula or law that says, well, just because they were eliminated with a snap, maybe they won't all come back. Maybe none of them will, which would be a huge weird twist. Not too likely, because again, like we said, some of these characters have to come back in reality. But I would kind of hope she doesn't.
I tend to think that she will. I even think that she will be instrumental in some way in however they become victorious over Thanos. If for no other reason than we need a third movie for Guardians.
Well, the Guardians cast can change a lot because this is so different from the original Guardians cast anyway. What they went with in the film universe, but yeah, and it's in the comics, and they haven't exactly slavishly followed the comics either. So Gamora is not the key to restoring everything.
Okay.
Her sister is in the comics.
Okay.
But again, that doesn't mean anything because they haven't exactly followed strictly by the comics, and they shouldn't, because why would you?
Right.
Key major themes, yes. Referring to big scenes, right? When Cap and Thanos square off briefly, Cap doesn't give his speech, which made me sad. That's another thing that I wish had been in there. But also, Thanos doesn't appear to be the kind of guy who wants to chit-chat. So I can see why they didn't just talk for a while. And obviously Steve didn't really feel like talking because everyone was getting their butts handed to them.
Right.
So it wasn't exactly time for a conversation, so he just had to go to war. So yeah, just because things worked a certain way in the comic doesn't mean by any means that it's going to work out the same way in the film, and it shouldn't, because otherwise it's like, oh, I know what's going to happen, because so far everything's happened exactly the same way, and that what's the fun in that?
Okay, I'll go for that.
Question about Ant-Man and the Wasp happening.
Fun.
It's going to be released July-ish, 4th, 5th, 6th-ish. Where does that fall in the timeline?
I just read today that it happens before the events of Infinity War.
Okay.
Which seems kind of odd because it's being released after, so I guess we're just going to forget that this all happened. But it would be hard to set it after the events of Infinity War and just have it be this kind of lighthearted caper movie, which is because it's going to be apparently kind of similar to Ant-Man. I mean, there's going to be more depth to it, but still, it's not all you do is watch the trailer. You can tell it's not a heavy-duty film, and I don't know how you can do a lighthearted romp after Infinity War. That's set after Infinity War.
Right.
You've got to address what happened. I can't see them just cavorting around and making giant Hello Kitty Pez sticks when half the universe is gone.
Right.
It just doesn't work. So, and I'm sure there'll be a simple explanation, like a title that says, "Oh, this happened in February" or whatever. So,
okay,
it looks really fun, which would probably be a nice breather for everybody after Infinity War.
Yeah, that's true too, because it seems that so many people that those that say they didn't like the film or had more more to not like, did not like, or did not appreciate how it ended. And, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that. Don't agree with it, but I understand it. If you don't know.
Those are the people who apparently never saw The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm.
or like you said, Star Trek 2.
Yeah, far and away the best films in those franchises.
Yes.
Which pretty much that's by consensus. It's not just me.
Mm-hmm.
And both happen to be the darkest films
Mm-hmm.
in those franchises by far. So, and I'm not saying this is the best film in the Marvel, and I don't disagree with anyone who thinks it is, but just because it has a dark ending, it's like that's kind of the point. That's what they've been building up to. And that's why there's a follow-up film, whether you want to call it a sequel or whatever you want to call it. That's why there's going to be another movie next year, which finishes this story.
We get it next year? Is it that soon?
We get it next year.
Okay, that's good.
Same Spider-Man channel, same Spider-Man, because we can't use Batman, because, you know.
So, what is your favorite of the Marvel films?
I don't like that really matters.
Matters.
Actually, it's Captain America, the First Avenger.
Okay.
To me, that does the best job of embodying the character of any Marvel film. And God knows Thor Ragnarok is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The Spider-Man Homecoming absolutely gets Spider-Man right, because for one thing, he's in high school.
Yep.
Nice. I mean, there's so many great Marvel films, but the fact that Steve Rogers starts off as this scrawny kid and won't back down and wins the day before he's Captain America.
Yeah.
He figures out how to get the flag off the flagpole when all the brawny guys couldn't do it. He gets things done. He starts off that way. He volunteers. He's the first in every single time. And, man, Chris Evans just... I mean, in real life, the guy nails it. Apparently, he thinks he's Captain America because he's standing up for what's right for America on Twitter all the time.
All the time.
And it's like, dude, you don't really have to live the role, but we do appreciate it. But it's just perfect to me. And the villain, Hugo Weaving, is like fantastic.
Yeah, he was, for sure.
It's just, to me, it's just an awesome, awesome movie. The fact that they went back, that they pulled that off, because when I first heard that, I was like, wow, that's kind of tricky. You're really going to go back and have them fight the Nazis? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it was brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
It was absolutely brilliant. And Peggy Carter doesn't hurt either.
No.
So, which the first season of that was an awesome show. Second season kind of fell off, but to me, that's my favorite, because I think they absolutely got the character right, the writing and the actor. I mean, I don't think anybody does a better job playing their role than he does as Steve Rogers. And and his character changes a lot in every arc as we go, in every film as we go along.
Right. That's
and
true.
he's all gung-ho and everything in the first Avenger, and then when you get to the Winter Soldier, it's like he's got some serious questions about what our country is doing, which follows the path of the character in the comics over decades. To me, it's just brilliant. But again, it's like about the only thing I could say you're crazy is if you said Iron Man 2 is your favorite, and I like it. It's not. I don't think it's a bad movie at all. But I don't know anybody who says that's their favorite Marvel movie.
I agree. For me, it's Iron Man 1. One, because I have to admit, Iron Man was always my favorite of the Marvel Universe characters. I just always appreciated that he was, basic human guy with tech. Granted, he's got all the money and everything else, and some of the tech, of course, is above and beyond. But and I thought that they just did that film. They held true to the story. And
absolutely.
There's no one else that's going to be able to play Tony Stark.
Oh no, absolutely not.
He was born for this role. This is it. He'll be Iron Man for the rest of his life, and he should be happy about it.
All those years that he had to that he was preparing for rehab, because he was being stupid and trying to kill himself.
Yep.
He was just getting ready for this role. I mean, it's brilliant casting, and even though they never really came out with the demon in a bottle storyline,
right?
And I wish they had, because now we probably aren't ever going to really get it, which makes me sad. But Man, yeah, absolutely. Another guy who absolutely nailed it. And if it wasn't for the job he did in that movie, there would be no Marvel universe.
Yeah,
True.
Yeah, got a point there.
I mean, that's what made it work. And Jon Favreau, obviously, writer director. I mean, he made the whole thing happen too. But interesting, the fact that Marvel sold off their the rights to their prime characters, so they had to turn to secondary characters, which no one thinks of Iron Man as a secondary character anymore because of that movie.
Awesome stuff.
Ted, your
I
favorite
will
one.
say.
Wait. Let me guess. It's the Fantastic Four movie that they did for TV.
Wait, that happened? Hold it.
It's Roger Corman's Fantastic Four. Either that or Captain America when he had a motorcycle helmet. That was good too.
When was Roger Corman's Fantastic Four? When did that happen?
Like in the 60s, I think, late 60s, early 70s.
Okay. It scared me.
Yeah, it's awful.
Without a doubt, Winter Soldier. The best Marvel movie.
It's and why I have a feeling I know why, but tell me why, sir. In your praised opinion.
a grounded superhero.
I know it.
Yeah.
It's almost not a superhero movie.
It's with the espionage and everything else baked in there. It's a thriller.
Yeah.
So
it's an espionage thriller. It's Jason Bourne, but the guy's stronger.
Yes.
And dresses fancy. It's another absolutely great movie, and just the storyline of, my friend who I thought has been dead for all these years, he's back, but now he's my mortal enemy. Yeah, I mean, they've turned out. I guess we can agree they've turned out a hell of a lot of really good movies.
Oh yeah. I kind of feel that the Winter Soldier, Cap was woke. He was woke. Think about it.
Yes.
He's seeing all the BS going on, and he's like, well, wait a minute.
Yep.
Hold it.
This is not what... No, I don't stand for this.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it carries further in Civil War when he just puts his foot down and said, nope. It's a really cool character arc for, like, the all-time patriotic fictional character, basically. That he represents the ideals of the United States, not the United States. Huge difference.
Right, very true.
Yeah, and Winter Soldier is what kicks that off. Absolutely. Great.
The fact that Tony knows his father, Howard, loved Captain America gets under his skin.
All the time.
And again, that's one of the things that makes the Marvel films work as well as they do. It's the interplay between those characters. DC just doesn't have that going yet.
No.
Right. And I don't think they ever will.
I don't think they will. Not until this cycle is done. Maybe in 15 years when they relaunch the whole thing and they start telling other stories, maybe then they'll get. Which is weird because we talked about that. This is our weekly subject of discussion on another show I'm on.
Cinema Savants.
That would be the show. I wasn't going to throw the plug, but thank you, sir. How can you have a company that nails animated movies, although not lately, but they have such a track record of just astoundingly great animated movies, and you just can't get it done with live action? It's like, you've got a script. Film it. It's like, this thing is perfect. Flashpoint Paradox, awesome movie.
Yes.
Justice League, A New Frontier. And practically any number of their movies up until like
on Infinite Earths.
Over and over and over, and they've done fantastic movies, and they just can't get it done for the most part in the live action movies. And why do those movies work? Because it's the interaction, the interplay between the characters. It's the same thing that Marvel gets, and why DC Warner's cannot figure that out is just I don't know why, but it upsets me. It really does. It's so stupid. You guys could be making great movies, and instead, no, you give us Suicide Squad. Like, dude, come on.
Another film I have yet to see and probably won't.
I'm looking forward to the DC streaming service that's going to be coming out shortly. They do make good TV shows, animated movies, They just haven't really focused too well on the actual
live action
movies.
Well, does that mean they're picking?
That's just lately.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's just lately because and that's aside from Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman is really, really good.
Yes.
And Christopher Nolan's trilogy.
Yes.
Dark Knight Rises. Not
Last
great,
one.
but it was still really, really good. Still really, really good. And The Dark Knight is phenomenal.
Yes.
I mean, that's just a great movie, period. The first two Superman films, like way back when from the 70s, Mr. Chris Reeve, Richard Donner directing, awesome movies.
But not the one with Richard Pryor.
No, kind of fell apart there.
Okay.
And we don't need to talk about The Quest for Peace because, no, Nuclear Man was not good.
I forgot about that.
Not good at all. Yeah, that's not a good movie. That's kind of the paycheck movie. Yeah, it's really frustrating when they have such amazingly good characters and decades of stories to mine, and they cannot get it right. That is what is so frustrating.
Okay, there we agreed. So for me, I know we need to wrap this up soon. I think we could sit here and speak for another hour on all things comic and movie and film. We need to do that.
Apparently.
I have but one wish, that Marvel Studios gets the opportunity to do a Fantastic Four over again. That's what I want to see. I want to see them do it and do it right. That's all.
I agree. I loved the Fantastic Four when I was a kid, and those movies have not been... They've been so bad they could have been Warner Brothers movies.
There you go.
It's true. It's true. Hey, Todd, tell us the best ways to get in contact with you and best ways to hear Cinema Savants.
Well, you can come by the house. I'm usually here after 6 o'clock. No, cinemasavants.com. And we are available on iTunes. We are available on Spreaker. You can give us a follow on the Twitter and on Facebook. For the 5 times a week that I might post on Twitter, I'm the Unreal Todd. And yeah, we just have a lot of fun, and we do like movies. We don't like to talk about movies that aren't good, but sadly there are a lot of movies that aren't good, and that's why we say we watch movies so you don't have to, because frankly there are a lot of movies that you don't want to see, so we'll warn you about those.
Gotcha. Todd, want to thank you as always for joining us.
Great speaking with you, Todd. Had a great conversation.
Thank you so much, guys, and I'm astounded that this lasted as long as it did, but like Infinity War, it flew by. I had no idea how late it was. So,
gotcha. So, Todd,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
We got to do a podcast on this. We do.
Agreed.
All right. Richie V, best ways to get in contact with you?
The Twitter is Late Night Rich.
And I am the real Ted Hicks, and guess what? We're out.
We're out, everyone. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.